So where did Pickles get started? I'm actually going to share my screen to provide a little bit of visuals. Um, this is Pickles, as you can see right here, but Pickles actually got started when I was in my first soul-sucking corporate job. And I have always been entrepreneurial. And from starting a landscaping company as a kid to a solar company in college, I've just really found my passion in starting businesses and working on other startups. But it wasn't until I got hired for this sales role where I was pretty much locked in a phone booth like Colin Farrell here in the 2002 movie where there was a sniper trained on him, that I just felt that creativity, that lust for life kind of leave me, because now I was just kind of a cog in a wheel doing the same thing over and over again. And this is when I became super passionate about creativity in general, because I just had it disappear from my life. And so I got curious if I was the only one feeling this way. And I came across this report in Adobe's State of Creativity, where they found that only 31% of people responded that they feel like they're living up to their creative potential. So I knew that I wasn't alone in that, but I also didn't know how to get started. And at the time, I was like, all right, creativity, that's like art, right? So how do I just be more artistic? I don't want to get started going to art school, and I am a little bit intimidated by just like a big blank canvas and spending $100 on art supplies. I had done a few of those paint nights though, which were fun, where you go to a bar and they show you how to paint the Eiffel Tower, and you get a little drunk, and it's like, all right, this is doable. But I also didn't want to get a buzz on every time I wanted to get over my fear of creating something. And
You
so
know, Chris, you can go to those paint nights and not drink. Did you know that?
it's true. It's true. But yeah, you got to get your money's worth. And so this is when I had an idea. Adult coloring books were becoming more and more popular. And so I thought we could take a version of that and make it more collaborative. And so Pickles really started out as this collaborative coloring book, where instead of one person spending an hour doing a drawing, 100 people could spend 1 minute doing 1/100th of that drawing. And then our platform would automatically put all of these drawings together and make it anonymous so that no one was having their own work speak for themselves and feel judgment for that shitty little drawing that they were making. And it was easier to approach creativity in this little bite-sized piece. So that is really where Pickles began, was as this collaborative coloring book where we were uploading background images. Here, I bet Da Vinci would be turning in his grave if he saw what we did to his beloved Mona Lisa. But it was a way that people who would normally not be doing anything creative could just kind of go from 0 to 1, to have this more approachable step to being creative, exercising it, and then putting it out there into the world. And after we came out with this, it was like, all right, now what? It was like, if you build it, they will come. That is not the case, as countless other entrepreneurs have proven. And so we started exploring what kind of target markets we would go after. And this was also around the time that we started exploring different applications for the platform. For instance, we started asking questions like, how are you feeling today? Or are you Democrats or Republicans? Which obviously a pretty charged topic in the United States these days, but we were using it as a way for people to visualize their thoughts and their feelings together anonymously, so that a group could all kind of contribute their thoughts and have a discussion without putting any one person on the spot. And we found that it was almost tapping into this new form of qualitative data. So the target market, where are we going to go with this? We actually started off going after kids in children's hospitals because we saw we could have the biggest effect and solve a large need here, where these kids, at no fault of their own, are isolated and alone trying to recover in their hospital rooms. So we started building Pickles as a way that kids could connect and feel more of a sense of community without ever having to leave their room by doing these interactive and boredom reducing creative Pickles activities. And we actually went through and broke into well, didn't break in, they let us into the Montreal Children's Hospital, where we did a pilot project in the oncology unit. And the kids loved it, but organizationally, it was a lot to introduce because you needed child life specialists, these people working with the kids to kind of go in and help troubleshoot. And it was just a lot of moving pieces and a lot of red tape. And then COVID happened. And obviously, everyone knows that that pretty much changed all sorts of business models. But right before COVID happened, we had also done our first public art activation, which was on the side of a bus shelter here in Montreal. And you can see this massive projector. We essentially turned what was normally showing avant-garde art films into this interactive digital graffiti wall where anyone walking by could take out their phone and scan a QR code or type in a code and immediately start drawing on the wall. And so this was super cool as a way for citizens of Montreal to engage with their city and engage with each other while kind of leaving their mark on it. And then COVID happened, but we quickly kind of adapted everything pretty easily to the virtual world. And then we've since been kind of expanding what we're doing in these virtual meetings and events and really using Pickles for a lot of different applications. So now that things are becoming more hybrid, we're pretty excited to use it to connect the digital and the in-person audiences through these kind of walls. And since a picture, it's able to transcend language and culture and class, it really kind of can serve as this uniting visual language that everyone can participate in, whether you're in person, you're virtual, you speak French or English. It's really, we're trying to kind of build it up as this tool to draw people together, pun intended. So yeah, there's lots of that's the origin story. I did not get into how many different iterations of this took. Like, we originally started building an iOS application, and so people would have to download Pickles, and that took so long to actually get people to engage. And then only iPhones could engage because we didn't have an Android app. And so, yeah, that was an expensive learning process in just building the tool itself, in addition to just getting traction, finding the right target markets. But a piece of advice that I got was, like, you got to start things before you're ready. And like every entrepreneur, you don't have all of the answers before you get going, but you're going to learn them along the way. And that's definitely what we have been doing.
So I want to see, when you moved past the iOS methodology, I want to see, what does your screen look like when you're creating the back end of Pickles? Just
like
a bunch of codes?
Creating an activity, or creating like programming, you mean?
Programming. What does it look like?
So it's a big black screen, and it has a lot of kind of words that are all indented, different sizes, and yeah, trying to kind of keep all of that source code organized. Now, I I will kind of dabble in the back end because we use Firebase, which is Google's version of AWS, and so that just makes the development a little bit easier. But yeah, it is. See, I prefer to talk with people than talk with computers. And so I've been fortunate to find some incredible programmers and developers who do a lot of the actual development and coding to make everything work and function properly.
So did you create what in the training world would be called storyboards? Did you, so I mean, you have to, in order for the programmers to put their fingers to the keys, they have to know what this thing needs to look like and how it needs to function and all the parameters of users and.
Yeah, so if I were to do it again, I would certainly do that first. But I pretty much approached the first app developer and I was like, hey, man, I got an idea. He was like, cool. And he asked me, all right, you get to choose there's 3 different ways we can go about building this. You get to choose 4. We either do it cheap, we do it fast, or we do it well. And I still had that soul-sucking corporate job. So I was like, all right, I can stay here, survive here for a while. So I was like, just do it well and do it cheap and take your time, take as much time as you want. And he kind of took that pretty liberally and that he wasn't going to do anything. So one of the Pickles almost stopped before it got started just because this first developer, and I almost lost it just trying to get any work from him and actually have something to show people. After 18 months, it took for me to just pull the cord, cut the losses, and find someone else to pick up the project. But yeah, it was certainly tough to start, and then it's been kind of rebuilt with different developers as time has gone on, with the biggest rebuild being the transition from an iOS application to a web application that we're using now.
So how did you find the first developer? And then after that, how did you find other developers? Just word of mouth, or did you use some of the job boards or?
Yeah, the first developer came from a networking contact. We actually worked at the same co-working space in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And then after that, I went on to a company called TopTal, which stands for Top Talent, who vet the developers ahead of time because I have very little technical abilities, and having kind of that intermediary so that I couldn't get taken advantage of again for my lack of expertise was something that was important to me. So I went on TopTal, and then I found another developer after he launched it on the App Store through AngelList. And then I worked with that developer for a while before another friend at this incubator, this co-working space, he connected me with his brother who was a web developer, and his brother just really liked what I was doing and kept pushing me to try and build an web application. And so we were actually competing in the MIT Creative Arts competition. And so I gave this developer a challenge. I said, if you can build this new platform in time for the Creative Arts competition, I'll pay you, I think it was about $5,000 to build the platform. And then I will split whatever winnings we win from this competition. So he was kind of invested and motivated to see this platform get built in time. And we did end up winning some money at the competition, which was cool. And so that really, yeah. And then from Matt, the developer who built that first version, I moved to Montreal. And since then, all of the developers have been in Montreal because I have had not very good success outsourcing the development. It's just, it's a little tough, and it's hard to get some of this outsourced development shops along with your mission and your purpose. They're kind of just interested in billable hours.
That's why I asked you, because everyone that I know that tries to do something like you did, not necessarily a whiteboard, but they have that problem. They have that barrier to getting further unless they just happen to have a brother-in-law or sister-in-law or, somebody that they know.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. And I mean, how many people like me with app ideas and full iPhone notepads are there who are just like, oh, maybe you can build this for me? And it's really, yeah, it's been hard to kind of get it built the right way, but you learn so much when you start doing it. And yeah, now, I mean, it would be a shame if I never built another product again, just for all of the experience that I've gained in this process.